Lu Fu'er was awakened by the kiss. She pushed away the man in front of her and heard the name he mentioned before her, only then did she know that she was dressed in the historical text. She became the female supporting character in the Sun.in.Law's novel of the era, who had just obtained a certificate and fled to get married. Fu'er, we have obtained the certificate, you are not allowed to escape. His red eyes stared tightly at her, blocking her on the haystack. The cramped space made Lu Fu'er almost breathless. Okay, I won't escape. How could her strength be greater than him? Let's show weakness first. After following my Sun.in.Law home, I realized that his family was so poor that their houses had all been demolished. And the original owner's family is a condition of being wealthy, no wonder the original owner escaped marriage. Fu'er, I will work hard to earn money for you to spend. The current poverty is temporary. Lu Fu'er placed her hand on his and said, let's go together. Keywords of the novel. On the day of divorce, being carried home by a rough man's Sun.in.Law without a pop-up window. On the day of divorce, being carried home by a rough man's Sun.in.Law. Download the complete text. On the day of divorce, being carried home by a rough man's Sun.in.Law. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. She is my wife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. She is my wife. Lu Fu'er, how are you? Yesterday, he insisted on marrying me, but after getting married, he committed suicide again. What do you think of me as Gu Chuxiao? I'll tell you, since you're married, you can't escape in your lifetime. Even if you die, I won't let you go. Who is making so much noise? I'm so annoyed. Lei is so big, which scumbag is swearing? Lu Fu'er turned over and planned to continue sleeping. When she moved, the man's gritted teeth voice concealed a hint of joy and whispered in her ear, don't pretend to be dead. If you don't open your eyes, I'll throw you on the mountain to feed the wolves. For some reason, her intuition told her that if she didn't get up, she would really be thrown here. With a strong sense of drowsiness, she opened her eyes and saw the stranger in front of her in a daze. You. Disappointed to see me. Who do you want to see? The man was stabbed by the astonishment in her eyes. In an instant, her veins burst out on her arm, and she reached out to clamp her chin with her big palm, pressing down on her body and about to kiss her. You're missing, the whole mountain is full of people looking for you. Guess what they saw, you're like me. The man's cold lips pressed against her and said, do you think Jiang Lei would still want you if he saw it? I've forgotten, Jiang Lei never had any interest in you from beginning to end, right? It's all your own sentimentality. Jiang Lei. Lu Fu'er was a bit surprised. Isn't this the male lead from a vintage novel she saw? Wearing books every year, is it her turn this year? Help. She didn't know anything about this book that she put down after just a few glances when she had nothing to do, except for the male lead Jiang Lei and the female lead Su Siren. If she guessed correctly, the man in front of her should be Gu Chuxiao, her husband of the same name as her supporting role. This character doesn't have much writing, but she has a slight impression. If she had known how to read books, she should have taken out the spirit of the final week of college and finished reading this 2,000-chapter novel in one night. She silently shouted in her heart, can we stop kissing? This man is really, he kissed her without saying a few words, and even sarcastically mocked her for being too close to Jiang Lei. A strange triangular relationship has formed. She was running her head rapidly while being contested for oxygen by men, almost suffocating. Pinched the man's waist, only to find that they are all tough, this in order to protect herself, she could only grab the man's ear and twist it hard, Lu Fu'er, you're looking for death. No, 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 I don't. I'm almost suffocating and can't push you away. Lu Fu'er said with a low eyebrow and a pleasing expression. She didn't know who this man was yet. If he were any ruthless person, she could only pretend to be pitiful with a low eyebrow and a pleasing expression. Haha. When men rarely see her so gentle, since the group of educated youth came to the village, Lu Fuer's soul has been hooked away by Jiang Lei from the city. Desperately trying to cut off the marriage they had arranged since childhood. Fasting 3 times, jumping into the river once, hanging once, and forcing with death 5 times. At the beginning, he was persuasive and tried hard to persuade her to change her mind. But now, he is really tired. After finally obtaining the certificate, she was still doing well when she received it. When she returned to the commune, Lu Fuer made a scene and went up the mountain, saying she wanted to commit suicide. He came back from buying a wedding banquet in the county, but before he entered the village, he was pulled up to the mountain to find someone. When I saw Lu Fuer lying motionless on the ground, my mind was filled with the thought that she had died. They got married, and even if Lu Fuer died, she could be buried in his ancestral tomb. Sometimes I really think, how good it would be for you to just die like that. What? How could he say such cold words in his 36-degree mouth? Just now, my family was crazy and couldn't survive without her oxygen. Why is there a 180-degree turn now? Lu Fuer looked at him with a surprised expression on her face, but was momentarily swayed by his beauty in the darkness. This man seems quite handsome. The profile is indescribable, the excellent bridge of the nose, raindrops falling on it all rushed down at an acceleration of 1 meter per second. His eyes drooped, and a mournful aura spread from him. His white shirt was soaked in the rain, and his figure was faintly visible. I didn't know how his face looked. Confused by her beauty, she leaned over to see his face, but coincidentally, both of them were rotating at the same time. I accidentally touched his 36-degree lips. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Lu Fuer quickly turned her head to look at the moon, but unfortunately it was a rainy day and there was no moon. Even if you didn't mean it, Chuxiao casually caught a glimpse of the distant flames and a hint of brilliance flashed in his eyes. I have to return it. Before Lu Fuer could refuse, he held her face and pressed it down again. Lu Fuer is extremely angry. What script is this man holding? A domineering rural villager. Do you really think moving yourself is just a clove of garlic? She seized the opportunity and, just as the man was forgetting himself, prepared to kick him hard. But the man took the lead in pressing and leaning against the tree. The tree was hit, and raindrops on the leaves scattered wildly. The man placed his big palm on the edge of her forehead to help shield her from the rain. Even so, he still didn't let go of her lips, just another big palm walked around behind her and easily squeezed her 2 wrists. From afar came the cries of the villagers. It turned out that what the man said was true, and the villagers were really looking for her again. I feel like there are many people listening to the sound, and there are several voices that are clearly very close. She was very anxious, struggling hard. Did you hear Jiang Lei's voice? Are you so afraid he'll see it? The man leaned against her forehead, panting heavily, and looked at Lu Fuer's anxious expression with a self-deprecating smile. Listening to the chaotic footsteps, Lu Fuer became even more anxious and said, "You quickly let go of me." Unexpectedly, the man not only refused to loosen her collar, but also deliberately untied it. In a moment of desperation, Lu Fuer bit into his face. "Fuer. You too." Suddenly named, Lu Fuer panicked and quickly released her mouth to look at the person coming. Wearing glasses, holding a large black umbrella, and carrying a burning oil lamp that was crackling loudly. She looks very delicate and full of scholarly charm. Obviously, he knows the original owner, and perhaps his relationship is still somewhat intimate. Forget it, let's say hello first. Lu Fuer curled her lips and smiled at him. "Hi." Seeing how well she smiled at Jiang Lei, Chuxiao's evil in his heart was almost uncontrollable. Jiang Lei looked at her swollen and red lips, his eyes darkened, and he extended his middle finger to push his glasses. "Fuer, did Chuxiao bully you again? We are husband and wife, and love is only natural." Chuxiao held Lu Fuer's shoulder and swore sovereignty. Jiang Lei saw his equally swollen lips and solemnly said, "Arranged marriage is not allowed in our country. Your marriage is not protected by the constitution, and to a certain extent, your engagement is invalid. For, as a new woman, I have to make my own decisions about my marriage." Listening attentively, Lu Fu'er nodded silently in agreement. Jiang Lei's words were indeed very reasonable. It turned out that she and Gu Chuxiao were arranged marriages. No wonder the female lead doesn't like him. Lu Fu'er's thought-provoking expression angered Gu Chuxiao, who couldn't help but curse. "I'll ask you, if I quit this marriage, will you marry Lu Fu'er? Comrade Lu and I are ordinary pure friendships, and there is nothing else between us," Jiang Lei said calmly, glancing at Lu Fu'er after realizing that Gu Chuxiao was angry. Lu Fu'er smiled meaningfully. She turned out to be a scumbag. By comparison, Gu Chuxiao has treated Lu Fu'er much better. Is it a normal friendship? You know, just because you say these things in front of her every day, encouraging her to withdraw. What kind of impact did it have on her? Yes, it's right to divorce, but the premise for me and I to divorce is that we don't like each other anymore, rather than having someone like you intervene. Do you know what everyone says about her when you constantly encourage her to withdraw? Everyone says she's not married yet and she's not clear with outsiders. She gave me a green hat. If I quit, who would marry her? As Gu Chuxiao spoke, he became increasingly angry. He grabbed Jiang Lei's collar and punched him. You don't like her and keep provoking her. If you feel itchy and want to clean up, just say it out loud. If you want me to see you and my wife say one more thing, do you believe me? Lu Fu'er was afraid that they would start fighting, so she quickly went up to fight and said, "Don't fight, okay? Let's go back quickly. Don't want me to hit him, do you? Give me a kiss, I'll let him go." Gu Chuxiao gritted his teeth and stared at Jiang Lei, wishing to press him down and rub against the ground. Then you better hit him. Newcomer's new book, looking forward to liking. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Husbands singing and women following. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Husbands singing and women following. Fu'er, you. Jiang Lei's slightly reproachful voice rang out, and Gu Chuxiao's fist instantly hardened. If it's a man, fight. The thunderous sound of thunder echoed again, and the rain crackled several times harder than just now. Lu Fu'er picked up the umbrella that Jiang Lei had thrown away and raised it high to cover Gu Chuxiao's head. "Chuxiao, let's go back." Lu Fu'er gently grasped Gu Chuxiao's tightly clenched fist, not wanting them to fight. "The rain is getting heavier and it's not safe on the mountain. I only listen to my daughter. Law. Do you want to be my daughter? Law?" Although Gu Chuxiao was talking to Lu Fu'er, his eyes were fixed on Jiang Lei, full of provocation. The man's proud and coquettish appearance made Lu Fu'er chuckle softly and say, "Didn't you get all the certificates? The villagers are still helping to find me in the pouring rain. It's dangerous. Let's go and tell everyone." Lu Fu'er's soft and gentle words were very helpful to him. "Okay." Gu Chuxiao responded and walked in front of Lu Fu'er, crouching with his back down and bowing. "I'll carry you." "No need, I'll go by myself." Lu Fu'er, who has been single for 22 years and has not been carried away by a man, instinctively rejected him. "The road is very slippery, I don't trust you to walk on your own." Gu Chuxiao deliberately moved back and reached out to pull Lu Fu'er onto his back, like a child grabbing their beloved toy. He quickly stood up and adjusted his posture. "The lights are dark, I'm afraid you'll bump into them." Having been lifted up on her back, Lu Fu'er had to tightly grasp his shoulder, with the other hand barely supporting the umbrella. Jiang Lei, seeing that they were about to leave like this and still holding his umbrella, couldn't help but feel angry and said, "Did you just leave like this?" Lu Fu'er lay on the man's broad back, a little one. Looking back at him, Jiang Lei suddenly felt the pain in his eyes. Why did he work hard for 3 years, but Lu Fu'er still marries someone else. Don't give the umbrella I gave you to Gu Chuxiao to cover it up. Ha! Lu Fu'er clenched the handle of the umbrella in her hand and whispered in Gu Chuxiao's ear, hurry up, be careful of him grabbing the umbrella. Being amused by her cuteness, Gu Chuxiao walked forward with a tug of his mouth, feeling happy in his heart. Lying on his broad back, from being initially reserved to relaxing, Lu Fu'er thought of her previous life. Her parents divorced early, and her mother remarried with her. When she got along with her stepfather, she always felt a bit awkward. Her biological father also had a new home, and others said she had two families, but in reality, she was unnecessary wherever she was. Her parents' marriage left a deep shadow on her. Her mother argued with her biological father, with her stepfather, with her biological father and stepmother, because money was for her child and because of other people's opinions. Before this time, she always wished she hadn't been born, and if it weren't for her, these two families might have been better off. She took the initiative to live on campus since middle school, but fortunately her parents did not mistreat her financially. Over the years, she has also become accustomed to being alone. She has not been protected by others and cannot respond well to their kindness. She is always afraid of every relationship, whether it is family love or friendship. She always felt that she was not managing well. Just like how she can't please her parents no matter what, she has never seen them smile or received their approval. Even though she ranked 31st in the province in the college entrance examination and was envied by others, her parents did not think she was worthy. Even though she fell seriously ill at the age of 17 and was in a coma for a whole month, her parents didn't even look at her and just threw her into the hospital to pay some money for companionship. She suddenly felt a bit greedy for the warmth at present, but unfortunately, this warmth did not truly belong to her. Her nose was a bit sore, and her hand holding the umbrella was trembling. Gu Chuxiao noticed her change and quickly spoke up to ask, "Are your hands sore? Let me hit them. How to carry an umbrella on my back? Of course, I can trust you, man." Gu Chuxiao released his left hand and took the umbrella from her hand. "You can just lie down and do it." Lu Fu'er was caught by his boyfriendly man. Not to mention carrying an umbrella with one hand, she still walks so steadily, it's amazing. "Am I heavy? If you're tired, let me down. Carrying your own daughter. Law, no matter how tired you are, it's impossible to let you go." Gu Chuxiao turned his head and rubbed her profile with a smile in his eyes. "Besides, you're not heavy at all. You should eat more in the future." I didn't expect him to have a good way of talking about love. Lu Fu'er gently placed her bracelet on his chest and said, "Let's have a good time together." "Okay." When I wanted to continue listening to Gu Chuxiao's voice, I found that I couldn't hear anything. Squeezing her nose, she felt a bit drowsy. As he passed by the east end of the village, Gu Chuxiao suddenly stopped and said, "Your parents are very angry with you this time. Do you want to go back and report your safety?" Lu Fu'er is a bit worried. Is she going to see her parents so soon? She was not mentally prepared yet, but the ugly daughter. Law always wanted to see her in-laws. After a small struggle in her heart, she still agreed, okay. When he came to his senses, Gu Chuxiao was already knocking on the door and said, "Mom, it's me. Chuxiao." When the door opened, Lu Fu'er's heart skipped a beat and she said, "Mom." How could the original owner not only have the same name as her, but also her mother? Lu Mu, Zhou Yulan looked at her with anger and said, "What are you doing here? Aren't you trying to sever ties? Oppose me, this feudal arranged marriage parent? Are you still going to the county to sue me? Do you want me to be featured in national newspapers? So hate me, why are you coming back? Why am I so scared when I see you?" As Zhou Yulan spoke, she closed the door and looked at Gu Chuxiao pleading with her to remain silent. She became even angrier and took a handkerchief to wipe the rain off Lu Fu'er's face. "When Jiang Lei didn't come, you said you didn't marry unless Gu Chuxiao did. You begged me to get engaged, and I pulled my old face to help you. When you met Jiang Lei, you felt like you were being possessed by ghosts. What do you think Chuxiao is? Do you want to lose it as you please? What do you think you are? What do you think the face of the Gu and Lu families is? Magnolia. Lu Weiguo scolded, but he still felt sorry for his daughter. When he saw Lu Fu'er secretly wiping away her tears, he couldn't help but speak out and stop, go and cook some noodles for Fu Bao. Lie on a lotus egg. Bao hasn't eaten all day, don't scold the child. Once married, she becomes an adult, making her think for herself is better than anything else. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do it anymore. Her voice choked up, and although Zhou Yulan scolded her, she not only helped her wipe her face, but also stuffed 2 dates into her hand. Red and sweet to the eye. She wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes and said, I will live a good life with Gu Chuxiao and won't joke about my life anymore. It's good to know you're wrong. Your mother's egg noodles are the most delicious. Today is a good day. During the day, your mother and I exchanged 2 pounds of lard in town. You can bring them back later. Lu Weiguo looked at his wet daughter and turned to the kitchen to boil water. The girl's weak body should not catch a cold. Gu Chuxiao was about to go and help, but his hand was held by Lu Fu'er. There was an extra round object in his palm, and he looked down. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Being spoiled by the whole family, giving her all 3 fried eggs to eat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Being spoiled by the whole family, giving her all 3 fried eggs to eat. It's the date that Zhou Yulan just gave to Lu Fu'er. It's very red and beautiful, as if she's grinning at him. The corner of Gu Chuxiao's mouth instantly lifted, and this jujube looked so sweet. He really couldn't bear to eat. He carefully put the dates in his pocket and looked up. Lu Fu'er was curious and looking at him. He quickly stood up. I'll go to the kitchen to help. Lu Fu'er also followed up and said, I'll go too. Before entering the kitchen, I heard Lu Weiguo talking from a long distance. Oh my, you dig up more lard, that's how it smells. Yulan, why do you only nest 2 fried eggs? That's 1 for each person. You need to nest 3. Zhou Yulan joked, why? Are you craving? Oh, I haven't eaten anything before. I'm here to test the Gu family. Lu Fu'er quickly tiptoed up and stretched her arms, covering Gu Chuxiao's ears. She noticed his puzzled gaze and explained quietly, don't cheat. Perhaps Lu Weiguo saw the figures of the 2 people and promptly fell silent, preventing Gu Chuxiao from hearing the question. Mom and Dad, I'm here to help you. Lu Fu'er walked briskly into the kitchen, while Lu Weiguo was orderly pulling the bellows and occasionally adding some firewood to the stove. The apron around Zhou Yulan's waist was a bit loose, and Lu Fu'er helped her tie it up. Zhou Yulan pointed to the bowl on the table and said, Fu Bao, hurry up and drink this bowl of ginger soup. The Lu family is really willing to cook. When cooking ginger soup, they put a lot of brown sugar to effectively cover up the spiciness of scallions and ginger. Upon smelling it, Lu Fu'er's delighted eyes lit up and she said, it's not spicy. She casually took an extra bowl and prepared to pour half for Gu Chuxiao to drink. As soon as the bowl was picked up, Zhou Yulan curiously asked, what else are you doing with the bowl? I'll pour half a bowl for Chuxiao. Oh, my daughter has grown up and knows it hurts. Lu Weiguo joked, drink it, it's not enough. Dad will cook it for you again. When she picked up the bowl, Lu Fu'er felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. The temperature was clearly not what she had just boiled. Lu's father and mother were angry with her and unwilling to go up the mountain to find her, but they had already cooked ginger tea at home to warm up the cold. Her nose was a bit sour, so she quickly took a bowl and took a big sip, suppressing the sourness in her eyes. As soon as she finished drinking, Gu Chuxiao naturally took the empty bowl from her hand and immediately put it in the sink to wash and hang it on the table. His operation is as smooth as at home, and Lu Fu'er was a bit surprised. Does he often come over to help with household chores? No wonder his parents like him so much. No one can refuse a handsome and hard-working uncle who is still protecting his daughter. The noodles cooked quickly. After serving 2 bowls of noodles, scrape off the soup in the pot. Zhou Yulan washed the pot and boiled water. Mom, why are you still boiling water? Gu Chuxiao was carrying a large bowl of noodles, with 2 golden eggs nestled on top. Originally full of anger and not hungry, his body was now filled with craving insects that were constantly crawling out. I originally wanted to pick up a bowl and enjoy it, but my mother-in-law was still working and he stood up to help. Lu Fu'er secretly gave him a thumbs up in her heart, and Gu Chuxiao did even better than her daughter. A small example of filial piety towards a good uncle. I'll give you 2 some hot water to take a shower. Next time, I won't even open the door for you. You go to the village and see who's open and who's going. Anyway, I don't want you anymore. Zhou Yulan glared at Lu Fu'er, seeing her dragging her bowl around and not taking a big bite, feeling worried and picking her mouth every day. Pick up the small sesame oil bottle on the windowsill and say, add some, the taste will be even stronger. Mom, you're really kind to me. Can I help you? You were raised by your mother's feces and urine, and your brothers were all helped by your grandmother. You were purely fed by me alone. Zhou Yulan untied her apron and sat beside Lu Fu'er, talking to her. When she saw 3 fried eggs in her daughter's bowl, she was surprised and said, why did you give all 3 of them to you? Chuxiao gave it to me. Lu Fu'er felt a bit embarrassed, but Gu Chuxiao just leaned in her ear and said, if you don't finish these 3 eggs, you'll have to kiss her in front of your parents. Can she skip eating? You're such a child. Chuxiao loves people, and you can't bully him either. Although she said that, Zhou Yulan didn't care whether Gu Chuxiao would eat or not anymore. She happily watched her daughter finish a bowl of noodles with soup. After finishing her meal, Lu Fu'er was rushed to take a shower. Gu Chuxiao and the others helped her move the large wooden basin into the room, pour water, and then leave. She quickly finished washing, and then changed to Gu Chuxiao. After washing, she sat in her parents' room hanging her hair. Lu Weiguo looked at Lu Fu'er and took a candle, saying, your mother has something she wants to tell you. I'll go outside and see the moon first. Isn't it a rainy day today? Where did the moon come from? Lu Weiguo walked very fast, and his evasion greatly aroused Lu Fu'er's curiosity. Mom, what's wrong with you and my dad? There is something I really want to tell you. A few days ago, when you were in a bad mood, I didn't touch your mold. Today, I also obtained this certificate and you said you wanted to live well, so I have to take action. Zhou Yulan took down a large string of keys hanging on the wall, carefully examined them in front of the kerosene lamp, and opened the lock of a dark brown solid wood cabinet. This is my mother's dowry. When you were a child, you always wanted to open my cabinet, insisting there were good things inside. I have to pass on this good thing to you today. It's an old thing, passed down during the Wanli period, but it's from the Tang dynasty. Mom, Wanli is from the Ming dynasty. Lu Fu'er looked eagerly at the operation in Zhou Yulan's hand, full of anticipation. It has been passed down for so many generations, shouldn't it be a family heirloom? Jade pendant. Gold. Porcelain. An edict. It's still a Shangfang sword or a gold medal to avoid death. Her mind went over and over again, and she was really looking forward to it more and more. Until Zhou Yulan opened the 3 locks on the cabinet one by one. She excitedly raised a kerosene lamp and looked over. Mom, is this a family heirloom? Her voice trembled slightly, even mixed with a lot of disbelief. What she should have guessed long ago was that she was foolish, she had too many expectations, she wanted to get something for nothing, too much woo-woo-woo-woo-woo serious family, who would treat this useless thing as a family heirloom. In a couple of days, I'll serve you a drink. Mom will use all the things in this box as a dowry for you. In a couple of days, Mom will go to Xiu'en to help you sew a new quilt with your aunt and aunt. Chuxiao's child doesn't have a father or mother, so we have to help everything we can do to support him. Otherwise, if we don't have proper etiquette, the meaning will be bad. Zhou Yulan murmured a lot, and Lu Fuer picked out a few words, and the rest went in one ear and out the other. She's all thinking about her dowry. Is she really embarrassed to take it out? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Framing. Gu Chuxiao has been captured. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Framing. Gu Chuxiao has been captured. I'll tell you, getting married is different from being in your mother's house. Even if he doesn't have parents, you may not have a good life. You should know that you live with men, and your quality of life is closely related to men, not to how many mother.in.law you have. Your grandmother is a well-known and powerful person from far and wide. She has a sharp mouth, a sharp personality, and is very harsh on the world. Before I entered the house, my mother was worried about me, but when I got married, your father didn't let me suffer at all. When Zhou Yulan talked about Lu Weiguo, her face was full of pride. She looked at the envious eyes of her own girl and became even more proud. I don't even ask your spouse to confront your elders for you. As long as he doesn't bully you, it's better than anything. Your 3 brothers have all joined the army. If you are bullied, no one in your family can help you. Your father and I will go and fight Chuxiao, and I will be afraid. Lu Fuer recalled the way Gu Chuxiao beat up Jiang Lei on the mountain, like a wolf with a hair full of anger, which was quite frightening. So am I. I'm really afraid he would hit someone, she said. He was hitting Jiang Lei on the mountain, and his posture was indeed. The sound of knocking on the door rang out, and Lu Fuer was about to open it when Zhou Yulan stopped her and said, "You're so reckless. Someone knocked on the door at night. You need to ask who it is first." Then he shouted at the door, "Who is that? It's mostly midnight. From Shangshui Commune. Hurry up and open the door. What can't we talk about tomorrow morning? Gu Chuxiao is with you, isn't he? He seriously injured the educated youth and has now been taken to the town health center. The captain said that Gu Chuxiao needs to be arrested first." The person came in a hurry and looked into the gatehouse while speaking. He didn't see Gu Chuxiao's figure and was a bit anxious. "Although he is your uncle, you are military dependents. You must have a high level of ideological consciousness and not commit the crime of shielding." Lu Fuer recalled the details of their fight, but Gu Chuxiao did not hit his vital point. "Where did Jiang Jiqing get injured?" "I don't know. I heard it was vomiting blood. I'm afraid it might have been an internal injury. If you ask me, this matter is quite serious. After all, it was Gu Chuxiao who took the initiative and even beat people up like that. Not only did he lose money, but he may also be arrested and sent to jail. They might even send you to jail because of your fight. I'll go with you." Gu Chuxiao clenched his fist and walked out, his hair still dripping wet. He gave Lu Fuer a deep glance and whispered, "Wait for me at home." I bowed to my parents and said, "Mom and Dad, help me take care of Fuer. I will definitely come back." A group of educated youth standing outside the door were filled with righteous indignation. Seeing him obediently following the leader of the commune, they believed that he was guilty of being a thief, verbally abusive, and physically abusive, and suddenly became a mess. Lu Fuer looked anxiously, afraid that Gu Chuxiao would fight them again. She casually grabbed the porcelain basin beside her and knocked it, saying, "Before the truth is revealed, are you going to lynch someone who is innocent? Give him another try. If you hit him again, I will go to the province to sue you." "Ha, what Jiang Jiqing said is right. Villains come from poor mountains and rivers, and you barbarians will never learn to reason. That's it. I don't recognize a single character, and when I encounter something, I like to hit people, barbaric. Are you present at the time?" Did you see Jiang Jiqing being beaten with your own eyes? He was the one who provoked Gu Chuxiao first, and besides, the two of them were fighting each other. Gu Chuxiao was also injured, but Jiang Jiqing was the first to lie in the hospital. Lu Fu'er was suddenly ignited by the map cannon of their group, and worked hard with both hands akimbo to attack them. What's wrong with you coming from a big city? Who volunteered to be poor, who doesn't want to live in a big city, who doesn't want to read? Do you think we don't want to learn? We have to grow crops on weekdays, and there aren't many teachers in the village. Our greatest wish is to be able to fill our stomachs. The leader of the commune walked up to Lu Fu'er and slightly lowered his head, saying, "Comrade Lu, we will definitely investigate the truth of the matter. We will take Gu Chuxiao away first. Don't worry too much, just wait for us to believe." After speaking, he hurriedly took the person back. Lu Fu'er looked at Gu Chuxiao's back. The group of people didn't even want to give him an umbrella. She casually grabbed a straw hat from the doorway and chased after him, saying, "Chuxiao." Gu Chuxiao took the straw hat she handed him and for the first time felt that he was really stupid. If he didn't act impulsively, he wouldn't have been arrested the night he received the certificate. "Fu'er, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong, take good care of yourself." Lu Fu'er was uncomfortable with the eyes of those next to her, and she exchanged a few glances with Gu Chuxiao before turning back. Lu Weigua came running to pick her up. He was just going to the backyard to pee, and his uncle was taken away. "Fubao, don't worry, let's go to the town tomorrow morning to see what's wrong with Jiang Jiqing," he said. "Well, when I was present at the time, the two of them didn't hit the villagers a few times before they came over and pulled them apart. Besides, Chu Zhao's face was covered in paint, and Jiang Jiqing was quite innocent. After you have a good sleep, we will go to town early tomorrow morning." Although it was full of worries, as soon as she lay on the pillow, Lu Fu'er fell asleep like that. The next morning, as soon as the chickens in the backyard crowed, Lu Fu'er panicked and climbed up from the con. She dreamed that Gu Chuxiao was being punished in a scum hole-like place, using everything from a tiger stool to chilly water. Gu Chuxiao kept saying that he had not hit anyone, and his body was covered in blood, which scared him to death. "Why do you wake up so early?" Zhou Yulan slept lightly and heard the door of Lu Fu'er's room ring. After waking up Lu Weigua, she put on a piece of clothing and walked out. Lu Fu'er, who was holding an electric kettle in the kitchen, smiled and said, "Did you wake up?" "No, I want to wake up early and make some breakfast so that we can go to town when we're full. I'll help you cook the pot." Lu Fu'er followed Zhou Yulan to brush her teeth and wash her face, then sat in front of the bellows, picked up a few corn stalks, folded them, lit them with a match, and stuffed them into the pot. After working hard in the kitchen for a while, the two finally finished and served the food. "Put some lard in the hot bread to eat." Lu Weigua's greedy lard took advantage of Zhou Yulan's good mood early in the morning and quickly applied. Zhou Yulan didn't refuse either. She turned around and took out half a can of lard from the cabinet. She took a pair of clean chopsticks and said, "Fubao, you can also pick some." Lu Fu'er is from Chang'an. She knows how to eat steamed buns with lard. She takes a big white mantou and looks at the lard in the jar. Put some lard on the inside of the mantou evenly with chopsticks, and then dip the bun in a different angle. First, it can melt the lard at the temperature of the hot bun, and second, it can dip the whole bun with lard, making it more fragrant. Sprinkle some salt and chili on the noodles, and then dip the mantou evenly. Aowu is just a big bite. It's really delicious. If you like it, let your father find a way to get more, otherwise this half pot of lard will not last for a few days. Zhou Yulan counted the remaining mantou, and in the morning, she heated 10 mantou in total, and planned to eat on the way. Otherwise, take half of the remaining mantou with pickles and half with lard. If there is not enough food on the way, it will be troublesome. Hurriedly finishing breakfast, they were preparing to go to the town when the door was slammed with a thud. "Uncle Lu." Your uncle has been taken to the hospital. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Gu Chuxiao was beaten. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 5. Gu Chuxiao was beaten. Jiang Jiqing can't be my uncle. My temple is small, so don't tease me anymore. Lu Weiguo looked displeased when he saw the leader of the commune say this. Jiang Lei was not worthy of his own girl. Gu Chuxiao. Isn't it all certified? Who dares to joke that Jiang Jiqing is your uncle? You have to be careful not to get wrapped in a burlap when walking. The leader seemed to be running over, sweating profusely, blushing, with a thick neck, and gasping for breath. Lu Fuer poured him a glass of water and said, "Comrade, take a sip of water." "Thank you, comrade. It's all my fault. I didn't catch sight of that group of educated youth in the middle of last night, and it really made people sneak in and beat Gu Chuxiao." "What?" Lu Fuer's face instantly lost its color, recalling her terrifying dream. She panicked a bit and said, "He's okay, isn't he? Is he injured? Is it serious? What are you going to do with that group of educated youth?" "Don't worry, we have all identified the ones who started beating people and organized planning. They have all been arrested in the county. The specific handling will depend on the commune meeting before making any plans. We need to teach them a lesson." The little leader finished drinking a large enamel jar of water with a clang, feeling a little more comfortable. Seeing her worried expression, he said, "Gu Chuxiao has already been pulled to the county by a tractor. You need to send someone to take care of him. As for the issue of medical expenses, the commune and brigade will cover it first. You don't have to worry, tractor." That must be so. Flustered Lu Fuer sat on a wooden chair with a restless mind. Jiang Lei suddenly entered the hospital, and the educated youth collectively beat Gu Chuxiao. The more she thought about it, the more strange it became. She needs to go and see Jiang Lei first. She needs to know what medicine Jiang Lei is selling in his gourd. After seeing off the leaders of the commune, Lu Weiguo pushed out a 20.8 high-pole vehicle from the nearby gatehouse and said, "Fubao, you ride this new one, and I'll borrow another one from your uncle's house." "Okay." Lu Fuer was carrying a military green crossbody bag, embroidered with a bright red 5-pointed star. Unable to resist Zhou Yulan, she added a grey checkered coat outside and pushed the car silently, following behind Lu's father and mother. "Fubao, don't worry too much," said Lu Weiguo, pulling his pedals a few times and getting on the bike with his feet raised. Lu Fuer wanted to learn from him to ride a bicycle, but after a few strokes, she almost lost her balance and fell on the roadside. Only then did she honestly follow her original clumsy method to get on the bike. "Dad, let's go to the town first to see Jiang Lei, right?" "What? How could you say that? You're already married to Gu Chuxiao. Even if you're not afraid of people laughing, you can't help but give Gu Chuxiao face." Lu Weiguo really wanted to open his daughter's head and see what was inside. "What did you say to us yesterday? You said you wanted to have a good time with Gu Chuxiao, but what happened today? Even if you're really worried about Jiang Lei, you have to show Gu Chuxiao on your face. No matter what reason you have today, you must come with me to the county to see Gu Chuxiao." Zhou Yulan's face was also full of anger, and Lu Fuer's words could really anger someone. Her own man is lying in the hospital without a definite answer. She wants to go see someone else first, but she can't. The more she thinks, the angrier she gets. "Weiguo, you put me down and let Lu Fuer carry me." "What? She rides a bicycle alone, and I'm afraid she'll run to the town to see Jiang Lei." Upon hearing this, Lu Weiguo truly understood that his daughter could do it. Hurriedly braking and stopping at the roadside, Zhou Yulan jumped out of the car and chased after Lu Fuer's back seat, jumping suddenly. "Your dad is sweaty and smelly, and I don't want to sit behind him." Not far away, Lu Weiguo's expression was unbearable. On such a cold day, where did he sweat? It was not easy to get to the gate of the county hospital. Lu Weiguo tied the two cars to the big wudong tree at the side door of the hospital with hemp rope. Lu Fuer entered the hospital and looked at the distribution map of the departments. She didn't quite understand, so she had to ask a nurse, "Comrade, may I ask which ward Gu Chuxiao is in? How can I know just by name when so many patients come in and out every day?" She also understood the truth, but still felt a little sad after being attacked. When Lu Fuer became anxious, her eyes turned red and she said, "I'm sorry." The nurse sister looked helplessly at the girl whose eyes instantly turned red. She was so beautiful that she couldn't refuse. Did she just be too aggressive? After clearing his throat, he gently asked, "When did he enter the hospital?" "I came by tractor early this morning." "That should still be in the emergency department, go straight to the right, there's a sign." "Thank you, sister." Lu Fuer took Zhou Yulan's arm and walked to the right. The nurse sister casually asked, "Do you know how to read?" "If you don't know how to read, look for green." "Literate, thank you, sister. You look so beautiful." The nurse sister, who was praised, left with a shy smile. She was praised by the beautiful woman for her beauty and was even happier than picking up a meat ticket on the road. Zhou Yulan looked at her own girl with a puzzled expression on her face and said, "Aren't you social anxiety? Why is social anxiety rising again?" Social anxiety. How do you know this word? Isn't this an internet meme? Lu Fuer looked bewildered. Did Zhou Yulan also travel through time? She trembled and said, "Strange changes, even changes." Unexpectedly, Lu Weiguo and Zhou Yulan replied in unison, "Symbols look at quadrants." 3 sentences, did a man spend 180,000 yuan on me? Am I a female lecturer proficient in human nature? After learning how to answer quickly, Luffy asked another question. Who is the current president of the United States? Nixon. Lu Fuer's big eyes were full of doubts. Why was this question correct again? She thought all 3 of her family members were time-traveling and said, How do you know what the female lecturer said next? You used to say, I've already memorized it. Do you often say it? Does the original body also wear books? Is it so strange? What is the uniqueness of this body shell? Why have so many souls changed? It's really strange. Will she also leave suddenly one day? Replace it with another soul. At the entrance marked by the green sign, there is a man standing on tiptoe, leaning against the wall and arguing with medical staff. Why is the emergency department under such conditions? It's still a big hospital in the county. Comrade, let's take care of your injury first, and we can transfer you to a regular ward later. Your hospital is so dilapidated, I dare not ask you to help me deal with it. I need to go to a hospital in the province. Your foot is slightly injured, we can just reposition it a bit. Going to the provincial capital will only delay the time you feel the pain. Lu Fuer noticed that the man standing against the wall was one of the group of educated youth from last night, so she quietly observed without a trace. Unexpectedly, the man also discovered himself and walked over with a limp and anger, his thick big hands gripping her slender arm and pulling it towards the doctor's side. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Everyone in the family is protecting her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Everyone in the family is protecting her. You came just in time. Your man broke my leg. Hurry up, I need to go to a big hospital in the province to see a doctor. I'm young and don't want to be disabled. If I have something unexpected, you will be responsible for the rest of my life. As he spoke, the man deliberately used some ingenuity to pinch her radius, causing her to bite her back teeth in pain and say, "Let go." I won't let go. What can you do? If you ask me, Gu Chuxiao is really lucky. Although you have a bad brain, your appearance and skin are really quite good. He reached out his thumb to touch the back of Lu Fuer's hand, but to his surprise, Lu Fuer kicked him hard in the calf. Lu Fu'er may seem weak, but in fact, because she has been living alone for many years, her strength is much stronger than that of ordinary girls, and she can even change the water dispenser with one hand. However, since her roommates discovered that she could change drinking water alone, she has changed all the water in their dormitory. But she's not the one who's at a loss either. You can change the water, just give her the money. She earns a portion of her college living expenses by helping girls change water in their dormitories. The rogue man across from him, holding back his pain, angrily cursed, "Damn it, you're such a rough village woman with so much strength. He just flirted a few times and didn't do anything." This stinky woman reacted so badly that others thought he was doing something. "Fu'er, Gu Chuxiao is here." Zhou Yulan and Lu Weiguo had just found Gu Chuxiao's hospital bed and waved to their daughter in the distance. However, they saw her daughter being entangled by a man's arm, and Lu Fu'er's face was full of reluctance, constantly shaking her hands. "You wait here first, I'll go see what's going on." Lu Weiguo comforted and patted Zhou Yulan's shoulder, then raised his foot to go out. Gu Chuxiao recognized that it was an educated youth from the commune. Seeing him pulling and tugging at Lu Fu'er, he stopped Lu Weiguo and casually dismantled the infusion stand at the end of the bed, looking full of murderous intent as he walked out. Lu Weiguo followed behind with a worried expression on his face. "Don't act impulsively. The bandages all over this child's body look pitiful, and he has to go and support his daughter. This uncle really made the right choice." Lu Weiguo gave full praise to Gu Chuxiao. "Let go of me, I'm calling someone. You shout your throat out and no one pays attention to you. Do you think they dare to touch me? My dad is a first-class worker at Yongqiang Iron and Steel Plant," the man said as he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. Amidst the screams of everyone, he turned back and said, "Gu Chuxiao. Grandpa is here. Dare to hit me. You still think your life is not long enough, right?" The man lost face and was very angry. Seeing Gu Chuxiao's bandages and gauze all over his body standing unsteadily, he roared and rushed forward. "Dare to provoke me, Li Gang. Do you know who my father is? This is the hospital, no fighting is allowed." Seeing that the situation was out of control, the medical staff inside the window ran out to block it. Taking advantage of the crowd, Lu Fu'er squeezed into the crowd and pinched and twisted Li Gang, kicking him several times at his injured ankle. Li Gang instantly couldn't stand steady and collapsed together with several people. "Fuck me. Who pinches me? Damn it. If it's a man, he will fight. Jinsao, who kicked my foot? Damn it. Hurry up and support me. I'm about to fall." Li just fell down with his mouth open, accidentally hitting the pole of the infusion stand. His front teeth were hit with a small but hard-to-ignore hole, and saliva flowed out along the small hole. When he spit out a small piece of teeth from his mouth, he cried angrily, "Gu Chuxiao. I'm not finished with you, my teeth." The two sides stopped fighting, but the bandage on Gu Chuxiao's body was stained red with blood. Lu Fu'er blamed herself deeply and helped Gu Chuxiao to find a doctor. Unexpectedly, Li Gang chased after him again and smashed the infusion pole on the ground fiercely. "Be careful." Gu Chuxiao hid Lu Fu'er in his arms, bravely resisting this heavy stick and quietly falling down. Lu Fu'er only felt that he was falling backwards and couldn't be held back no matter how hard she tried, even with all her strength. "I'll do it." Lu Weiguo and several doctors moved Gu Chuxiao into the emergency room, while Lu Fu'er sat on a bench in the corridor, blaming herself, "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let Chuxiao and Li Gang fight. I should have stopped him. Silly child, how can we blame you? This is Li Gang's fault. You've been bullied and can't swallow your anger. With your mother around, she'll support you. I still feel like I haven't hit him enough." Lu Fu'er's tears couldn't help but roll down and she said, "Mom. When she was a child, she was bullied by her stepfather's daughter and tore up her homework book. Her mother would only blame her. You didn't provoke her, how could she tear up your homework book? Being isolated and bullied by classmates, my mother only complains about her. It really doesn't make me worry. I can't get along well with my sister and brother at home, and I can't get along well with my classmates at school. You deserve to have no friends. If such a thing happens again in the future, just call your dad. It's really embarrassing. After being diagnosed with moderate depression, her mother will only dislike her. The doctor said there are problems with your original family, so many children from restructured families, why are you suffering from depression? How can your sister not? How can your brother not? Only you, Jean Gui. The wind is so strong, why can't I hold back my tears? Just now, while there were many people, your father and I took advantage of the situation and hit him many times, intentionally giving him a few big mouths. Zhou Yulan proudly raised her chin and eyebrows at her own girl, with a face full of praise. Lu Fuer curled her lips as she looked proud and coquettish, suppressing the bitterness in her heart. Compared to you, I am still too conservative. I only twisted him a few times and kicked him a few times. Don't blame yourself, Fubao. When something like this happens, we all just hate ourselves for not having the ability to hit him enough. We just feel like we haven't protected you well and won't blame you in the slightest. Yes, don't blame yourself. It must be even more uncomfortable for Gu Chuxiao's child to see you blame yourself. Lu Weigua stood in front of them with the police, and just as he sent Gu Chuxiao to the emergency room, he thought this matter couldn't be calculated like this. If the person is brought back to the commune for retrial, it may not be fair and just. It's better to take advantage of the current evidence and bring the police. Lu Fuer, right. I'm Li Changyan, a police officer. Can you cooperate with us to make a record now? Sure. Lu Fuer was taken to the dressing room to take notes. With Li Changyan's gentle and patient attitude, she completed the notes in every detail. Don't have any psychological pressure. If you catch such hooligans now, you will be severely punished. It's shameless to still tease female comrades like this in broad daylight. Li Changyan closed his pen and looked resentful. Li Gang looked like a crumpled rag pig head, and he didn't want to bully such a well-behaved girl. Why can't I afford a mirror when my family is so wealthy? Thank you, Officer Li, Lu Fuer said as she watched him suddenly become serious and tried to ease the atmosphere. Hey, thank you. You pretty girls are really easy to be missed by little hooligans. Those men like to play tricks on little girls every day when they're full and have nothing to do. If your parents weren't around today, there might be something wrong. Don't go out alone next time. Li Changyan talked a lot and even practiced military martial arts and self-defense skills while walking, saying, if you have time, come to our team and I will teach you well. If you encounter such a thing again. Pooh, never again, but you can use it to act bravely. When the time comes, I will give you a banner and certificate. Okay. Lu Fuer quite likes Officer Li Changyan, who has a lot of words to say. He has a good heart and is also able to see things from the perspective of the victim. He is a good police officer. When he returned to the ward, Gu Chuxiao had already woken up. When he saw Lu Fuer come in, his eyes lit up instantly. But seeing the green behind her, my mood instantly drooped. Don't take a glance and hum softly. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The man who eats vinegar in a random manner, somewhat cute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The man who eats vinegar in a random manner, somewhat cute. Lu Fuer noticed his small movements and quietly moved to Gu Chuxiao's bed, saying, Chuxiao, this is Officer Li. Officer Li, this is Gu Chuxiao. Upon hearing these words, Gu Chuxiao's head turned at an even greater angle. Lu Fuer poked his arm and whispered, what's wrong? It's okay. Why don't you ask people if it's okay? It's impolite. Gu Chuxiao was so angry at her words that he was about to vomit blood. He gritted his back teeth before finally squeezing out a sentence. "Hello, Officer Li." Ha ha ha. Li Changyan's hearty laughter could lift the roof of the hospital and say, "What's the smell? Why do I smell so sour?" Xiaoyan Qinggang just got married and only got his certificate yesterday. Well, this happened tonight. Lu Weiguo looked at Li Changyan with a worried face and flattened his mouth. "I don't know what's going on, but that Jiang Jiqing has been asking my daughter." "What?" Sure enough, half of what was said could instantly arouse others' curiosity. Li Changyan choked his neck and said urgently, "What's wrong? You tell me quickly, how can I handle the lawsuit for you if you don't tell me? Isn't it difficult for a clean official to handle household chores? I'm afraid it will make you feel embarrassed." "Oh, Uncle Lu, what am I doing in this outfit? I'm just trying to serve the people, isn't it? Even if household chores are difficult to handle, someone must take care of them. Can we just leave them unattended?" Li Changyan pulled Lu Weiguo out and said, "If you don't like anyone hearing me, let's find a place where no one can talk about it. Perhaps you don't remember me, but Lu Xingrong and I are comrades in arms. I was injured on the battlefield, and Captain Lu had to carry me 3 miles to get my arm back. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to wear this outfit." Lu Weiguo patted his thigh and said, "I remember you. The boss wrote a letter back to ask your aunt to help you find a partner, but our family only has Fubao, a young girl who couldn't kiss you back then." Upon hearing these words, Li Changyan immediately joked with joy, "What? If I had known about this, I would have waited for little Fubao to grow up. My daughter is already in 5th grade this year. So fast. My son doesn't have a partner yet." Lu Weiguo felt even more uncomfortable when he heard that his granddaughter was in 5th grade. No, he never had a granddaughter. Looking sideways, Gu Chuxiao and Lu Fuer were staring at them with their eyes dripping, not knowing how much they had heard. Thinking of Gu Chuxiao's vinegar workshop, his teeth were about to soften, and he gritted his scalp against his eyes. Lu Weiguo cleared his throat and said, "Why aren't you lying in bed when you're injured? Why come down and walk? Release water. What water do you put in? Let Lu Fuer put it in for you. You can't move easily." Lu Weiguo said, suddenly realizing what was going on. Blush and muttered in a low voice. "Just urinate, and let the water go. It's really a blind man painting the old swallow. I'm in a hurry." Lu Fuer's face is so red that she can drip blood. Can this be helpful? Even if she wanted to help, Gu Chuxiao might not necessarily be willing. She looked up at Gu Chuxiao's face, which was red. "Is this shy? Dad, why don't you help him go?" As soon as Lu Weiguo lifted his foot, Li Changyan grabbed his arm and said, "Uncle, don't mix with young people." Then he turned his head and said, "You two are so adults now. When you encounter problems, you have to overcome them on your own. You have to find your parents when going to the bathroom, just like a child who hasn't grown up. Your father and I have something else to do, you can go on your own." The kind of person who came out of the army, speaking with a high tone like shouting a command, attracted the attention of the whole audience. Lu Fuer blushed and lowered her head, pulling Gu Chuxiao's arm forward. "Look at the road." Just as she was walking with her head down, she stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Gu Chuxiao grabbed her waist and lifted her hand, saying, "Let me down quickly, be careful of the wound. It's all skin injuries." Gu Chuxiao placed her on a long wooden chair in the corridor, and then slowly walked towards the men's restroom with peace of mind. Looking at his back, Lu Fuer recalled yesterday when he carried her down the mountain. Her face, which had just cooled down, burned a few red clouds. Rubbing the red 5 stars on the crossbody bag, she was a bit lost in thought, but when asked what she was thinking, she couldn't say. It wasn't until a big palm appeared in front of her that she regained consciousness. It turned out to be Gu Chuxiao. "How are you?" It seems that Gu Chuxiao has just washed his face, with scattered water droplets hanging on his eyebrows, eyelashes, and nose bridge. Afraid that water droplets would wet the bandage on his body, she took out a handkerchief from her bag and said, "You nod low, I'll help you wipe your face." Gu Chuxiao leaned down against her and gently closed his eyes. Lu Fu'er looked at his handsome and elegant face, which became even hotter. After closing his eyes, he always felt like he needed to do something after wiping his face. Cough cough cough, color is emptiness, emptiness is color. Do not look at, and do not recite unless it is appropriate in the 21st century. Although her mind was only focused on learning, it doesn't mean she's not Yan Kong. She has heard of those beautiful male celebrities and internet celebrities who have gone viral. When this beautiful male face with no dead corners in front of her, she felt like she was dreaming that such a handsome man was actually her husband. Fu'er, just wipe it casually, don't tire your hands. Gu Chuxiao's mouth, have you really attended a tutoring class before? Can you speak like this? Lu Fu'er took back her handkerchief and folded it carefully. Let's go back. My mother brought some congee and big mantou. You must be hungry. I'll take you to dinner. Returning to the ward, only Zhou Yulan sat by the bed reading a newspaper and said, "Mom, where's my dad? Your father and Police Li went to the canteen of the station to have a meal. They said that there were braised pork belly and zhajiangmian in the canteen today. I asked your father to take some dishes at will. There were so many steamed buns left. Is mantou still warm? Give it to Chuxiao to eat first, he didn't eat it in the morning." Lu Fu'er picks up the bag beside Zhou Yulan and prepares to open it. The lunchbox containing mantou has disappeared. She looks up in wonder. Zhou Yulan points to the words on the newspaper and asks her, "Your father took it to the dining room. What do you read?" "Law, the meaning of law." "Oh." Gu Chuxiao sat down next to Lu Fu'er and folded his hat with a newspaper to play with. "Is this Zhu Beiji's hat?" Lu Fu'er held her hat with a smile on her face. In elementary school, whenever the 86 version of Journey to the West was re-released, Zhu Beiji's hat was always the object of students competing to imitate COS. Who is Zhu Beiji? Oh no, I forgot, it's 72 years now. 6 little children are still children, a person I know. Is that correct to say? Just acquaintances. Unexpectedly, Gu Chuxiao began to bite his back teeth with a cold face and said, "I've loved you all these years. Why are there so many men around you when you are the only one?" A Jiang Lei left, and another Zhu Beiji came. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Misfortune. A prophecy came true, sharing award with Jiang Lei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Misfortune. A prophecy came true, sharing award with Jiang Lei. What? Listen to him, does she like Zhu Beiji? No, I don't like him, said Lu Fu'er, holding her forehead in relief. I know he's jealous, but I don't know how to explain it. Gu Chuxiao is a Bai Ding who knows no big characters, and the original work of Journey to the West specifies that he has never heard of it. The TV series, Journey to the West, has not been filmed yet, and she finds it difficult to explain. She can only find reasons to escape. I'll wait for Dad at the door. Not long after, Lu Weiguo brought back 4 lunch boxes and saw her looking up on the bench at the entrance of the ward, feeling a little anxious. You're starving. Why don't you go in and sit down? You've made so many dishes. Lu Fu'er helped him lift the lunch box in one hand, heavy. Li Changyan was too enthusiastic and cooked all the dishes with meat foam in the cafeteria. Lu Weiguo placed the lunch box on the bedside table next to the hospital bed. Zhou Yulan nudged him and said, I'll give you a fight and you'll take it. How much does all this food cost? He's just living on his own. Harmful, isn't this impossible to twist? In a few days, you can also bring a pound of lard to his house. Lu Weiguo took his chopsticks and went out to wash them, while giving Lu Fu'er a wink. Lu Fu'er understood, Mom, it's only friends who come and go. You just speak for him, this is taking advantage of him. We can't do this in the future. Zhou Yulan touched the meat ticket in her pocket, and later she had to find a way to repay this favor. He and my older brother are comrades in arms, and we were saved by our older brother, that's why we took care of them, Lu Fuer explained to Zhou Yulan as she placed a handkerchief to wipe the soup around the lunchbox. Zhou Yulan's eyebrows tightened and she said, "We are comrades in arms with your elder brother and have been saved by him before. Then we cannot accept your elder brother's kindness. Your elder brother, second brother, and third brother have saved dozens and even hundreds of people on the battlefield. We cannot go and accept your brother's kindness. Where else can there be a substitute for human relationships? I just hope my son can be safe and sound on the battlefield. We can't afford the favors they exchanged for at the cost of their lives." Zhou Yulan chattered on and on, looking at her longing expression. Lu Fuer knew that she was missing her brothers. Lu Fuer couldn't help but compare her two mothers again. She really likes her current mother and has a warm feeling. I heard that Jiang Lei was not diagnosed with any problems at the town hospital and was brought to the county hospital for examination. Lu Weiguo shook his dripping chopsticks and walked in, whispering in a low voice. "What? Isn't it just a fake if there's no problem found? Why do we need to check again?" Zhou Yulan didn't quite understand. The commune is willing to watch him make trouble. What can be done? If someone has a headache and a fever, can they not show it? Let's eat first. We need to change the ward later. Don't be unlucky enough to be in the same ward as that kid. Lu Weiguo sorted out the chopsticks, took a big white mantou and ate it with a big mouthful. Lu Fuer absently holds mantou. After a while, Gu Chuxiao's mouth can hang 3 oil bottles. Lu Fuer. What's wrong? What are you thinking? I didn't think much. Gu Chuxiao didn't say anything, but after a while, he suddenly spoke up and asked, "What's wrong with Jiang Lei?" Jiang Lei didn't come to this house. When she realized what she was saying, Lu Fu hurriedly closed her mouth, a little guilty but not much. After taking a few bites of pork ribs, she put down her chopsticks, feeling heavy-hearted but hesitant to speak. After dinner, a nurse came in and called for them to transfer to the department. After tidying up a bit, Gu Chuxiao transferred to the 3rd-floor surgery department. Before entering the door, I heard a messy mess inside. It must be because your medical skills are not good. How could Jiang Lei pretend to be sick without any worries? Look at him, he's in such pain. But he doesn't have any wounds on his body. We also checked his body and can confirm that there is no fluid accumulation or bleeding in his abdominal cavity. There is also no occult blood in his stool routine. How could it be that he was injured by being beaten? Due to being directly questioned about his medical skills, the doctor was also somewhat anxious. We didn't say he pretended to be sick, did we? We just suggested that he transfer to the internal medicine department of the provincial hospital for a thorough examination. If the symptoms described by him are not caused by external injuries, at least it is not a visceral problem. Lu Fuer suddenly felt a burning sensation behind her ear, and a grinding voice came from her ear. "As you wish, Jiang Lei and I are in the same ward." She stood still with an innocent expression on her face and said, "How could I miss you and him in the same ward?" Isn't that what she said? Besides, she just wanted to see if Jiang Lei was pretending to be sick. Her conjecture was confirmed by the doctor, and the stone in her heart also fell to the ground. Jiang Lei is pretending to be sick. If this is found out by the commune, he will definitely be punished. Do you feel heartbroken? A certain man's vinegar jar seems to be constantly opening, closing, and opening today. There are so many enriched psychological activities. Lu Fuer patted the back of his hand and gently coaxed, "I love you." Upon hearing this, Gu Chuxiao happily grabbed Lu Fuer's hand and led her into the ward. Zhou Yulan helped them put the clean dishes on the bedside cabinet. Seeing Lu Fuer holding hands, her heart was filled with joy and she said, "Weiguo, let's go back later. We'll finally come to the county once. Let's go pull some cloth and sew a quilt for Fubao. Okay, pick some trendy styles and make clothes for you. How can you only do it for me? This is your first time being a father.in.law, and you definitely have to wear new clothes. Chuxiao's child doesn't have his parents to arrange for him, so he has to make a few outfits for him. Upon hearing the conversation between the two of them, Chuxiao felt a surge of warmth in his heart. He must treat Lu Fu'er well. Zhou Yulan became more and more anxious as she spoke, pulling Lu Weiguo to go to the market and saying, "Let's go quickly. There are so many things that haven't been arranged, I'm afraid I won't be able to buy them all in an afternoon. Just obtaining the certificate is like a couple. They need to handle the banquet with the wind, scenery, and light. The only daughter of the Lu and Zhou families definitely needs to handle the wine well. Mom, what about me?" Lu Fu'er couldn't help but chase after the two of them as they left. Zhou Yulan turned around and pushed her back, saying, "You are Chuxiao's wife. Where is he? Where are you?" Lu Fu'er, who was pushed back, felt a bit confused as she transformed from a single mother girl to a married woman, only for one night. Strictly speaking, she and Chuxiao are strangers, and now they are alone, feeling a bit uncomfortable. Plus Jiang Lei from the adjacent bed, isn't this a safe sure field? A few educated youth who came to accompany Jiang Lei for medical treatment were still arguing with the doctor. Lu Fu'er looked at them with great interest, and it was the first time she had seen the medical commotion in reality. "Don't look at him, look at me." Chuxiao pinched her palm and looked at her with a resentful expression. "You're not allowed to look at Jiang Lei. You're my wife." "I didn't look at him, I was watching the medical commotion." "What is medical commotion?" "Medical commotion is..." She was afraid that her voice would be too low for Chuxiao to hear clearly, so she leaned forward and leaned in his ear. Patients or their families argued and caused trouble with doctors due to disagreements. This is medical commotion. I understand. Lu Fu'er wanted to say something more, but Chuxiao suddenly turned her head and her lips accidentally brushed against his fair cheeks. As she hurriedly retreated back, she accidentally saw Jiang Lei's eyes full of resentment. In broad daylight, a sudden chill hit her body. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Xiu'en Ai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Xiu'en Ai. Jiang Lei's gaze was as sinister as if he had been poisoned, and Lu Fu'er was a bit worried about what bad things he would do next. After retracting his gaze, he became somewhat absent-minded and said, "Why don't we apply for a new ward?" "Why?" Chuxiao was not willing to change. He had already noticed that Jiang Lei's unfriendly gaze would occasionally come over. "So I deliberately kept sitting next to Lu Fu'er and occasionally made some intimate gestures. I don't want to be in the same ward as someone who falsely accuses you. It's okay, innocence is at ease in people's hearts." As soon as Chuxiao finished speaking, the group of educated youth next door gathered around and said, "This is the person who attacked Jiang Lei." Chuxiao, tell the doctor quickly, where did you hit Jiang Lei? You can't delay Jiang Jiqing's condition. He is an intellectual, a precious treasure of the people. Lu Fu'er was so angry at his words that she couldn't help but sarcastically say, "Are we the victims? Having read a book, one is already an intellectual. So, Chuxiao and I have also studied to recognize characters. Why isn't it a precious treasure of the people?" When did Lu Fu'er become so eloquent when she choked on the anger of the educated youth who was half dead? When I came to the commune before, I followed Jiang Lei's advice and greeted every educated youth with a smile. Just after getting married, I was poisoned by Chuxiao, a villain, into this kind of virtue. Will I still have it in the future? Do you still have reason to hit people? The doctor came up to stop them and said, "Stop making noise. Look at how much he's injured. Don't disturb the patient's rest." The educated youth looked at the bandages all over his body and became anxious. Jiang Lei didn't hit you. You think you came to the hospital and wrapped yourself in a few broken bandages, so you could lie down and falsely accuse others. That's right, you're as strong as a cow. How could you have been beaten like this by Jiang Lei? You must be pretending. The doctor was completely angry and grabbed the arms of these educated youth as he ran away. You can't do this. After finally taking the group of arguing educated youth away, Lu Fu'er looked at the clock in the room and said, "It's already 3 o'clock. Gu Chuxiao asked knowingly, "Are you going back tonight?" "Mom asked me to keep it, but..." "Fu'er." Jiang Lei suddenly called out to Lu Fu'er in a sharp voice, and Lu Fu'er instinctively looked at him and said, "What's wrong?" "I'm thirsty. Drink plenty of hot water." Without even thinking, Lu Fu'er casually replied, causing Gu Chuxiao to sneer. Watching him trying to suppress his laughter, Lu Fu'er picked up the newspaper by the bedside and flipped through it. It's some social news that she doesn't have much interest in, but in order not to stare at these two people, she chooses to grit her teeth and keep reading it. After finally seeing through, she was disturbed by the man next to her who was talking about pupae. "Fu'er, I'm thirsty." Does Gu Chuxiao intend to compete with Jiang Lei? Lu Fu'er glared at him in anger and leaned over his ear, saying, "I'll do it myself." A pair of bandaged hands swayed in front of Lu Fu'er, innocent little eyes casting a tender expression on her heart. Lu Fu'er put down the newspaper, picked up the electric heater on the table, and went to the water room. After receiving a full pot of hot water, she mixed some warm water with the cold white water in her own kettle and said, "Here." Gu Chuxiao was afraid that he was deliberately showing it to Jiang Lei, so he didn't pick it up. Instead, he turned his head and took a few sips with Lu Fu'er's hand. "Fu'er, you are so kind to me." Although she can understand Gu Chuxiao's intention to deliberately show affection and anger Jiang Lei, she is not very willing to cooperate. "Have you had enough to drink? I need to continue reading the newspaper." After twisting the kettle, she sat by the bed and picked up the newspaper. Gu Chuxiao's chin rested on her shoulder and said, "Wife, what are you looking at?" "Social news. If you're interested, I'll show you after reading it." "No, can you read it to me?" "You can't read." Lu Fu'er looked surprised and her eyes were filled with shock, but in Gu Chuxiao's eyes, it turned into a full of disgust. "I am literate. I was enlightened at the age of 3. "Oh, do you still call reading and recognizing characters enlightenment? That's all feudal terms." Jiang Lei's untimely voice rang out again, and Lu Fu'er curled her lips and pinched the newspaper, saying, "This newspaper should be a weekly report issued by the County Cultural Bureau. It tells some stories about family relationships. Look at this." Gu Chuxiao's tail was about to fly, and he proudly raised an eyebrow at Jiang Lei, watching Lu Fu'er's mouth open and close, swallowing saliva vigorously. "I will treat you well." "I also want you to appear in the newspaper." Following the direction pointed by Gu Chuxiao, Lu Fu'er smiled and said, "Let's just forget about it. This little story seems to tell the story of a young couple living a harmonious life, producing and working hard. The husband is considerate of his wife's hard work, and on the premise of earning 10 centimeters a day, he also helps her earn 5 centimeters. In his spare time, he also helps take care of the children. In fact, it is widely promoted that men helping their wives with household chores is like a great good thing from the sky." Seeing that he didn't understand, Lu Fu'er decided to nod at him and said, "Household chores should be done by 2 people together. Helping wives share household chores should not be the standard for measuring a good husband. I definitely won't let you work alone. She doesn't do much work on weekdays, her hands are tender like a piece of tender tofu, soft and smooth, and he can't bear to let the owner of these hands finish farming and household chores." Lu Fu'er knew that she and he were already a foregone conclusion, and that she had already obtained her marriage certificate. The prerequisite for living a good life was to have a consistent understanding of the 3 values. The generation gap between them is very deep, very long, even though at present, he is not considered a chauvinistic man. The sky quickly darkened, and Lu Fu'er took the leftover lunch to the cafeteria. She asked a kind-hearted teacher to help heat it up and rushed back with a steaming hot lunchbox. Ha! It's so hot. After putting down the lunchbox, she quickly pinched her earlobes with her thumbs and index fingers. Perhaps it had been hot for a long time, but pinching her earlobes didn't work. She reached out and pinched Gu Chuxiao's earlobe, which was still asleep. The man's earlobe was icy cold and comfortable to touch. As her fingers cooled down, she let go of Gu Chuxiao's earlobe and withdrew her hand. Unexpectedly, the sleeping man grabbed her hands and awkwardly took her hand and kissed her lips, saying, "Did you burn it?" "Yeah, I knew I should have placed a piece of cloth. I ran back all the way with my lunchbox, it was too hot." Watching her slender fingers turn red from the scorching heat, Gu Chuxiao pressed his lips against them and blew with pity, "I'll go next time." She felt even more uncomfortable being scalded than throwing him into hot water. The heartache in Gu Chuxiao's eyes was not just a pretense. Lu Fu'er's heart warmed and she said, "All right, you should eat more meat so that it can heal faster." "You eat more, I don't like meat." Gu Chuxiao returned the meat that Lu Fu'er had given him to her. Lu Fu'er was still a bit surprised. In such a poor era, how could there be people who don't like to eat meat? But yesterday, he didn't even take a bite of his 3 fried eggs and insisted that she eat them all. "Don't you like to eat fat? Then you can eat some of these lean meats. You're sick now and need to supplement your nutrition." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The house was overturned. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The house was overturned. Seeing that he still didn't want to eat, Lu Fu'er directly pinched a piece of meat to his lips and pretended to be angry. "I'm asking you for the last time, whether to eat or not." Seeing this, Gu Chuxiao opened his mouth and ate the shaved bone of the small pork chops, which were actually full of meat. It spread out in his mouth, and he squinted his eyes as it tasted delicious. Lu Fu'er didn't notice his expression. She was trying to evenly divide the meat and vegetables in the bowl and said, "All right, this is yours. Give me so much." Although Gu Chuxiao was very happy that Lu Fu'er could keep some good things for him, he was still a bit angry when he saw so much lean meat in his bowl. "It was said that I don't like meat, how could you keep so much meat for me? You should hurry up and take it away. Don't love eating meat. Then give it to me. I haven't had any meat yet." Jiang Lei became tired of listening to him and said a few strange words. Gu Chuxiao gave him a glare and warned him not to talk too much. Jiang Lei glanced at him and said, "What are you pretending to be? The big man is crooked and crooked. You can eat whatever you want, pretend what you don't want to eat, then give it to me." As soon as the words fell, Gu Chuxiao picked up his lunchbox and ate it in large gulps. Lu Fu'er silently mixed a cup of warm water and put it away, not caring about him anymore. Just as he put down his chopsticks, Gu Chuxiao took away Lu Fu'er's dishes and said, "I'll go wash the dishes. Let me go instead." "No, household chores cost half a person." Seeing that he persisted, Lu Fu'er didn't hesitate and let him go wash it. At 6 o'clock, the hospital's radio began to play, and after listening for a while, Lu Fu'er remembered the title of this song, "Sailing in the Sea" by the helmsman. Unconsciously humming along a few lines, Jiang Lei, who suddenly came to her side, was startled and said, "What are you doing? You don't like Gu Chuxiao?" It was an affirmative statement. He was gloomy, and Lu Fu'er's eyebrows moved slightly. She moved her body back and distanced herself from him, saying, "It's nothing to do with you. Is it irrelevant?" Jiang Lei pushed his glasses meaningfully and said, "You've been chasing me for 3 years, and you've committed suicide so many times to marry me. How could you suddenly fall in love with someone else? Love won't disappear, but it will shift. Gu Chuxiao's family is so poor, even the house is muddy and there is not a decent tiled house. Can you live in such an environment? My father is the deputy director of Shanghai Iron and Steel Plant, and my mother is the editor-in-chief of a newspaper. There is a big house with 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and a large balcony in the city. Not far away is the university you most want to attend. Are you really going to waste the rest of your life in this slapping-sized Xiu'en village? Jiang Lei became more and more excited as he spoke, and fiercely grabbed Lu Fuer's shoulder. You're only 19 years old, and your life has just begun. Don't you want to go see the outside world? Are you willing to imprison yourself in a barren marriage? I have loved you so much for 3 years now. No matter how close you are to me, I dare not respond to you. I am thinking for your sake, and I don't want you to make foolish choices in an age where you don't understand love. I teach you to read and read, I teach you women's liberation, you. So, are you still doing it for me? Ignoring her emotions, not actively refusing, and then blaming her when she gets married, it's really funny. Lu Fuer used all her strength to shake off his hands. She turned her head and stopped looking at him, saying, "This is it. There's no need to say those useless words. I'm already married. Please take it seriously, Jiang Jiqing." Suddenly, Jiang Lei, who was staring closely at her eyes, his calm face curved his lips and deliberately lowered his voice in her ear, saying, "Did it take so long to wash dishes? Guess where Chuxiao is? If he sees. Behind you." Jiang Lei, who was stunned, felt his neck tighten and he was grabbed like a chick being picked up. Fear made him turn his head, and what caught his eye was indeed Chuxiao's face. Jiang Lei is at least 176 years old. Although he has lost some weight, he is still a man and not much lighter. Compared to Chuxiao, who is 187 years old, he is like an immature child. Being carried by Chuxiao and thrown onto the adjacent hospital bed, Jiang Lei felt humiliated. Today's humiliation, he must return it. If I see you and my wife so close again, I'll kill you. Chuxiao picked up his things and was about to go home. The tractor in the village is going back, and we happen to take a ride. Why is it so sudden? Lu Fuer was puzzled and said, "You're not feeling well yet. How many more days should we stay? I have some skin injuries, and the village clinic can handle them. Hurry up and go home." Seeing him in such a hurry, Lu Fuer felt something was wrong, but due to Jiang Lei's presence, she had to suppress her doubts and help him clean up together. After getting on the tractor, she felt uncomfortable from being bumped. Chuxiao saw this and hugged her in his arms, saying, "It's getting dark soon, we have to hurry. You can sit like this and feel better." His scent filled Lu Fuer's nose, refreshing and pleasant, like the sweet fragrance of osmanthus in the cold air, sweet but not greasy. Sneaking a few more words, her arms wrapped around her waist tightened and she said, "If you're tired, you'll sleep for a while. The road is still far away." "Okay." I slept soundly all the way, and by the time I arrived at the village, it was already dark. Chuxiao hugged her and jumped off the tractor, and at that moment, Lu Fuer woke up and said, "Are you there? Well, I'll take you back to your parents' house. And you?" "I'll go back to my own house." Coincidentally, both Lu's father and mother were not at home. Chuxiao helped Lu Fuer light the kerosene lamp and hurriedly left. Although a bit boring, more of a fear, her current home is completely unfamiliar to her. She wanted to flip through some books and looked around in her room. She found many strange and peculiar books, and after flipping through them, she took out a book called The Amazing Story. This book has a total of 3 volumes, and she only found the first 2 volumes. She held the books on a stool and sat in her parents' room reading. In the latter half of the night, there was only some movement at the door. She put down her book and went out with an oil lamp, saying, "Mom. It's me, you haven't slept yet." Lu Fuer looked at her dirty parents and said, "I'll wait for you to come back." "How did you get covered in mud? Did you fall?" "No, didn't Chuxiao tell you?" Zhou Yulan took a dry cloth and stood at the door, patting the soil on her body. Wei Guo, hurry up and dust yourself, she said. That group of educated youth, a few troublemakers, have caused the gatehouse of Chu Zhao's house to collapse. What? Has the gatehouse been overturned? I thought you were lazy and didn't go over to help, so he didn't even tell you. Lu Weiguo became increasingly satisfied with his son-in-law and said, that guy Gu Chuxiao is good, he knows how to hurt people. Don't tell me such a big thing. Lu Fuer felt a bit stuffy in her heart. Gu Chuxiao must have heard the conversation between Jiang Lei and her, and he was concerned that the mud house made of earth had collapsed, and he didn't want to let himself know. She lit another kerosene lamp and said, Dad, can you take me over? Now. Lu Weiguo's hand, which was polishing his shoes, paused in disbelief and said, what did we do in the past now? We have already finished pulling the soil. I have to go see him for such a big deal. End of this chapter.